Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. I'm doing a solo stream tonight. I know Father Sinatra and I did a little solo or little short stream yesterday just to test out the new laptop, and it seems to be working pretty good. So I figured I'd go live for a little bit tonight. Uh, I don't have to do the benediction at 8, so I got a night off, and I'm going to try to at least enjoy it. But just wanted to go over a few comics I picked up because, as I mentioned, I was on vacation back home in Iowa this last week, and I had a chance to visit a few places, picked up a number of comics, but also there's so much else going on with Comic Con right now and the Terminal List. I just finished the TV show in addition to the book. I just started the second book this morning, and the Pope is going to Canada. And he made some interesting comments earlier this month, I think, or last week. Something about calling people to eat less meat, but this is not an issue of faith or morals. So, as a Catholic, we're not obliged to give up meat because the Pope says we should be doing less of it so that we could save the earth. So, anyway, but yeah, so as you know, you've been following me for a while. The big comic I'm into is Superman. I just downsized a bunch of newer Superman comics. I actually got rid of a box and a half of newer comics. Just kind of wish I hadn't spent the money on them in the first place, but it did give me enough trade in to be able to get my Deadpool Captain America number 701 variant cover graded. So I bought this off the rack. I didn't really care for the comic. I didn't read the comic, but I bought it because of the cover and really loved the cover. So, um, yeah, so I was grateful for that. But along the way, I picked up a few comics from Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, and Superman. I picked up Spider-Man comics, so just to kind of go over a few of them. This is a 73. I don't remember what year, but it would have been probably early mid 60s. So now I have 102 of the 163 Jimmy Olsen's. The only ones I don't have, mostly in the newer ones, would be the first appearance of Darkseid, which I think is a Jimmy Olsen 133. But also a lot of the earlier numbers of Jimmy Olsen. There was a store not too far away from here that has the number 2 for $175. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get that or not. That's one that if I buy, I will put on my American Express card. And American Express has this option where if you have bigger purchases, you can pay it over the course of months. So, like in this case, for some reason, they're doing it where if you buy a big purchase, you pay it over 24 months. So 175 over 24 months. What is it? About $8 a month. Wouldn't be too bad to own a number 2 comic from 1954, but I'm in no hurry. But then I also got a number 73. And again, you just gotta really love these covers because, and I actually just got rid of my newer Jimmy Olsen. So I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, DC came out with a new line of Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. At least they kept that tag. But then they also did a new Lois Lane line of comics. And it was just Lois Lane, not Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, just Lois Lane. And it was a little too serious, where in the previous ones, it's fun because it is campy. So like this one I got for $6. But yeah, so the wedding issue where Lois Lane marries Clark Kent. Superman marries Lois Lane in a different disguise, and I guess Lois makes a deal with the devil. So, but again, this comic was $6, and I did break down, and I did do the Rippaverse comic this week. Again with PayPal. So I think with the shipping, it was about $42, $45, which I'm paying over the course of 4 payments. I figure it's less painful that way. And that way, I would hate to miss out on it. And from what Eric July's Twitter said earlier this morning, there's maybe less than 400 copies of Cover B left. So, but the thing is, New Lois Lane comics, $4. I got this one from, I would say, probably the late '60s for $6. So, but I also picked up, let's see, this would have been probably, I think, probably 59. But again, just to show you the fun, it's basically a jealousy between Lois Lane and Lana Lane. Lois Lane and Lana Lang. Try saying those names too fast. But along with that, I also got a number 33. So these comics here, these two were $14 altogether. Again, I enjoy the comics. I'll read the comics. I'll save the comics. But like the comics I just got rid of would have been War of the Realms. I collected it because I thought it might be worth something. It really didn't turn out to be worth much. But I also did Martian Manhunter, the one that DC issued a few years back. Didn't really care for it. I mean, I collected it just because you start the storyline, you kind of hate to cancel it. But yeah, so this is a Jimmy Olsen 58, and paid $6 for that. But it's basically Jimmy Olsen with a voodoo doll, basically attacking Superman. So that's kind of fun. But then there's also this one, Superman 344. It's a 40-cent comic, so I'm going to say it's probably early 80s, and it's also upper series. So most of the Superman comics I'm collecting are between most of the ones I could afford would be in the 150 to issue 150, and about 344 is what I'll go to, or a little bit under 400, early 80s. Basically the Curt Swan era, because I really love his artwork, and the storylines from Curt Swan are just amazing. But yeah, so this was a 314, and the thing was, the store back home, so Daydream Comics in Iowa City has a big collection of comics. This comic was $2. This 310, I guess, is the first appearance of Metallo, and I have not read it yet, but this was a $7.50 comic, so I didn't think it was too bad. But just a few other ones that I picked up. So in Des Moines, there is Mayhem Comics. They have one in Ames too. I almost picked this one up in Des Moines, but I got this one in Iowa City. This was Lois Lane number 91. I'm guessing by Lois's haircut, it's going to be about a 70s comic. So, but I picked this one up for $5. And again, a new comic's going between $4 and $5. So yeah, I'm realistic. I mean, it's one of those that's not in near mint shape, but it's fun to collect. And yeah, so Justin, who joins me, I picked up a few comics from his store. And these ones weren't that expensive. I've always been wanting to read a little bit of Doctor Strange, so this is probably from the early mid 80s. As you can see, I only paid $1 for it. So, but I did enjoy the first Doctor Strange movie. I didn't care for the second. Then I also picked up a number 301 Flash, and again, for $2, I figured, what the heck? It's not too expensive. Might as well look at it. So then the final one I'll just show is the Spectacular Spider-Man, featuring the Spectacular J. Jonah Jameson. This was from 1976, but at least it started in 76, but this is issue 80, so it's probably early 80s. But this was a $5 comic. Figured, what the heck. So, but really, that's about the major comics I picked up while I was on vacation. I did 2-3 days back in Iowa, which is more than enough, because a few days more I go nuts, mostly because I grew up on a farm, and it's just not much to do when you go home. And being in the late 40s, again, so long you could be able to, so much you can only do when you're home. But the other thing too, as I mentioned, as I put in the title, talk a little bit about the terminal list, because again, I finished the series yesterday. No, Friday. Friday because I saw Weird Al and Emo Phillips in concert, and that was awesome. But yeah, so I finished the book 2 weeks ago. This is one of those few books, as you can see, it's about a 300 and almost 400-page book. But I pretty much finished this in like 3 days. It's just one of those that when you start, you just can't put it down. So after that, I ended up getting the second book. But without really spoiling it too much, I like the book a lot better. The book is more enjoyable, although they do a good job on the TV series. It's just, let's just say the same people die in the book as they do in the TV series. The order is a little bit different. The big, not really a spoiler, is Reese's daughter, Lucy, is 3 years old in the book, but in the TV show, she comes off more like a 12-year-old. So I didn't really care for the daughter in the TV show just because it was more annoying. And yeah, so some of the main characters that get killed in the TV show are done in a different order than the book. But again, and the way some of them die is different than it is in the book. But again, I enjoyed both. It is definitely not family friendly. There is a lot of violence. We could go into the morality of it, which would not be good. So, but yeah, that was I enjoyed it. So that's the Terminal List. But the other thing that came out these last few days was Comic-Con in San Diego. I used to want to go to it. Now I don't know if I really want to. But they just announced Phase 5 of the MCU as described it. Basically, MCU bore. I am kind of like with Gary, where I thought this last Phase 4 was the MCU. Nothing outside of Spider-Man No Way Home really got me excited. And I'll be honest, nothing in this really excites me at all. The only one that might would be Guardians, but again, depends what it is, or Daredevil, which I enjoyed the Netflix show, but since it's going to be on Disney, I don't really know. But Ant-Man and the Wasp, the first Ant-Man movie was genius. It was good. The second one was okay, but it's something with these titles that really don't interest me. I mean, like again with Thor: Love and Thunder, I don't really care for the title Love and Thunder. Plus, it had like the cheesy '80s heavy metal thing. I mean, the fact that they got Guns N' Roses playing in the background during the trailer. But you got Ant-Man and the Wasp, don't care. Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe. I'll see what the trailer is. Loki season 2, don't care. Blade, never really got into it. I saw the first one when it came out in the 90s in theater. It's okay, but I'm not really a Blade fan. Agatha, Coven of Chaos, which is off of WandaVision. I really, honestly do not care on that. Captain America, New World Order, probably with Falcon. I really don't care. Then you got others that some I've never heard of, like Secret Invasion. Don't care. Echo, don't care. Don't know anything about it. Don't care. The Marvels, I really do not care. Good heavens, that's going to be a big train wreck. Again, I thought the first one was going to be a big train wreck. It didn't turn out to be, but we'll see. But Ironheart, again, honestly, do not care. Don't care for the idea of it. Daredevil, maybe. And then Thunderbolts, which I couldn't honestly tell you what that's going to be about. But yeah, so as she says, don't trust anything coming from Disney in 2024. Election year means preaching will probably be utterly unwatchable. I mean, I saw the trailers, so I'm guessing it's not part of this, but they have the Wakanda Forever trailer, which, to be honest, I don't really care. I mean, the first one was good, but that's because of Chadwick Bosworth, and now that he's gone, but the other ones that came out, what was the trailers? It's like they're announcing X-Men, they're announcing Secret Invasion, House of Kang. It's like the new Avengers series. I don't, you know, everything has gone downhill for me since Endgame. The only redeeming thing would have been Spider-Man No Way Home. And that was kind of really, it was between No Way Home and Far From Home. The only two movies that have been good were the Spider-Man. So we'll see what happens with that. But that, I don't know. Like I said, I probably should have had a little bit more of that prepared, but don't really care. But that leads on to the next thing, which was the I'm just seeing what the thing was. Oh, I thought I had it up here. Hold on. Oh, there's the schedule. So, as I've been saying for the last few weeks, the Pope is going to be going to Canada. I think he actually left today. And I will have to watch some of this next week. So, Pope Francis is going to Canada for 6 days, arriving on Sunday. Okay, so it's the first time the Pope's been to Canada in 20 years. I think the last time would have been John Paul II when he went to World Youth Day, Toronto, I think. I could have went to it. I wish I had. I never got to see John Paul. But the Pope's going to go to Edmonton, Quebec City. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that city. But he's going to meet with Indigenous leaders and residential school survivors. That one, I don't know how. I thought most of this stuff was from like the 1800s. But so today, I guess he's supposed to arrive in Edmonton. There's a welcome ceremony, so we'll have to check that out. But there's no events for the rest of the day, as the thing says, to allow the 85-year-old Pope to rest. So tomorrow, he's going to meet with school survivors from across Canada at, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that too. But it's the only school visit on the Pope's schedule. So it looks like he's going to be meeting there from 11 to 1 Eastern time. Now, a lot of this can be watched on EWTN. Later in the afternoon, the Pope will go back to Edmonton, meet parishioners and the Indigenous community members at Sacred Heart Church of First Peoples, and was reopened after an accidental fire in 2020. So it looks like that's going to be aired from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Then on Tuesday, he is going to have an open air mass at Edmonton Stadium with up to 6,500 attendees to mark the Feast of St. Anne. So Joachim and Anne, the parents of Mary, Virgin Mary, we get that from the infancy gospel of James, which is not divinely revealed. So, but tradition says that Mary's parents were Joachim and Anne. And I guess Anne is revered according to this article by Indigenous Catholics. The mass will be from 10:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern. After that, he is going to go to Lac St. Anne Pilgrimage National Historical Site northwest of Edmonton and welcome pilgrims from throughout Canada and the United States. That in itself will be on from 6 to 7 Eastern. Wednesday, he is going to go to Quebec City, where he'll meet the general governor, prime minister, who I'm not a fan of, as well as Indigenous leaders and other dignities in Quebec. While the meetings in the Citadel, so with the leaders and the prime minister, is going to be private, the public is invited to attend programs of Indigenous cultural expression. No tickets will be required for that. Okay. The events at the Citadel and the Plains will be aired in a special from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So Thursday, he's going to have a mass at the National Shrine of St. Anne de, I don't know how to say that. So it looks like from 11 to 1. Then he will have a prayer service with the clergy at the cathedral in Quebec. Friday is going to be a meeting with the Archbishop of Quebec, members of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, which the Pope is a member of. And then he'll be meeting with a delegation representing Indigenous people from Eastern Canada before flying to the town I will not try to pronounce. And that evening, he's supposed to go back to Rome. So really pray for the Pope this week. So, and we got a lot of people in the chat right now. So Derek McManus is here saying he's given up on the MCU, which I have too. Let me see. There we go. Miss Martin Muses is here. Good to see you. The R is here. Good to see you too. Justin's here. Good to see you. Like I said, I'm just doing a solo stream tonight, so I didn't send out invites. Mark the Surf is here. Good to see you. Yeah, so it sounded like they had a good time in San Diego. It sounds like they didn't go to the Comic-Con, but that's fine. Let's see. Mark says he's found a new pizza for Odin. You take a round of watermelon, fry it to caramelize the fruit, then add sauce, cheese, and pepperoni and bake. I don't think so. I will be honest, I have not followed too much of the news. I've only heard that the Pope was going over there. I don't think, I don't think it's all done, but I think the Catholics did some of it, but I don't think it's as much. I can't say. I'm from the Midwest, so I really can't say much about that. It's not been in our news as much. So, but the other thing that I was going to mention is I was reading an article that the Pope has called on people to eat less meat to try to save the environment. But as we know, when the Pope is talking on issues of faith and morals, we're required to follow him. But this is not an issue of faith and morals. This is environmental, and we do not want notifications from vague news. The only reason I'm putting this up is because you know how the media is. They see something that the Pope says, and they usually blow it out of context. So the Pope encourages young people to eat less meat to save the planet. Well, I'm not young, so don't have to do it. We'll look at the letter because it's always good to go to the news, the site, the source. He says that I would like to tell you something that is very close to my heart. I invite you to transform the old continent into a new continent, and this is only possible with you. Okay. I know that your generation has some good cards to play. You are attentive young people, less ideologized. I don't believe that. Accustomed in studying in other European countries and volunteering and sensitive to environmental issues. That's why I feel hope. Okay. Yes, so here we go. May you aspire to a life of dignity and sobriety without luxury and waste so that everyone in the world can enjoy a dignified existence. There's an urgent need to reduce the consumption of not only fossil fuels, but so many superfluous things, too many syllables. In certain areas of the world, it too would be appropriate to consume less meat. This too can help save the environment. And then they go on to cite an article. But as you know, that's a new one. However, while the Pope is said to have a diet rich in vegetables, nothing wrong with that, he does not eschew all animal products. Yeah, I had a really good steak the other night. I had a steak before I saw Emo and Weird Al. I treated myself. I was given a gift card, so I figured I'd have a good ribeye steak. But, like I said, the best thing to do to find out what the Pope really said is to go to the source. And this is on the Vatican's website. So this is the message of His Holiness the Pope to the participants of the EU conference, which would have been earlier this month. Let's look to see where it is. Okay, I think it's around this paragraph. Let's do, oh, there it is. Okay, so here too, I was pleased to note that while previous generations talked a lot and concluded little, you, on the other hand, have been capable of concrete initiatives. That is why I say this more than ever is the right time. If you do not succeed in turning the self-destructive trend around, it will be difficult for others to do so in the future. Don't let yourself be seduced by the sirens that propose a life of luxury reserved for a small slice of the world, and agree with that. I totally agree with that. Instead, have that broad outlook that can take in all the rest of the humanity, which is much bigger than our little continent. Again, may you aspire to a life of dignity and sobriety without luxury and waste. Again, nothing wrong with that. So that everyone in our world can enjoy a dignified existence. There is an urgent need to reduce the consumption not only of fossil fuels, but also of so many syphilis, the 50-cent word of the day. In certain areas of the world, too, it would be appropriate to consume less meat. This, too, can help save the environment. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. So she says I'm having chili next week and chicken liver. Ugh. Never liked eating the organs of another animal. The meat, I don't mind. So he's fallen into the belief that cow farts make a difference. Again, I really don't want to get into that. I don't really know. Derek says if we didn't use fossil fuels, then all those dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures died for nothing. Well, yeah. Yeah. So let's see. I can't stand it. This extreme environmentalism. Do people know what life would be without fossil fuel? And exactly. It's a good thing these people were around during the 1800s, during the Industrial Revolution. Who knows where we'd be today? But as Derek also says, I like meat. Well, I do too. So, but yeah, that's what is going on this week. I know that this week coming up, I will be streaming with the rabbi on Friday. Might have to be a later stream because I have both the masses this week as my pastor's on vacation. So I'll have the 6:30 and the 8 o'clock mass every morning. Next weekend is going to be busy because I'll have 3 of the 4 masses. So I will do the Friday afternoon stream coming up this week. I didn't do it again on Friday because I just got back from Iowa and I was getting ready for the Weird Al concert. But the week before I was just tired. But yeah, there's really not too much. Again, just seeing all the stuff from the MCU, I don't really care. The Shazam trailer, that looked interesting. I mean, I enjoyed the first movie. We'll see how this one goes. But it's just too much. As I put on a tweet, you had like 12 Star Wars shows. And as I was telling it's like you used to have to wait 3 years for a movie to come out. Now it's like 3 weeks and a new movie comes out. So you got like 12 Star Wars stuff in the next 2 years, and you got at least 24 of the MCU in the next 2 to 3 years. It's oversaturation. The excitement, the wait is not there. So, yeah. Articles from science journals, late 70s, early 80s, talking about optimal human population to live in harmony with nature. And they used to talk about the population bomb. Well, population's dying. Europe is dying. They do not have an increase. They don't have a sustainable birth rate. And I used to show that to my kids in class. There was a video showing what the Christian birth rate was versus the Muslim birth rate, and there's a big difference between the two. The problem is Christians are contracepting themselves out of existence. Muslims aren't. So, but also with Space Dinosaur, I believe I remember seeing Leonard Nimoy in the 70s talk about the oncoming ice age. And I'm thinking of that again this morning because Al Gore was in the news again talking about climate change. He's been doing that for 20 years. So let's see. Star Wars production of value is akin to a dumpster fire. Yeah. Mark Hamill hasn't helped it. That also brought up the article. Shatner talked about Star Trek during Comic-Con and said Gene Roddenberry would be rolling in his grave over some of the stuff that they're doing. Because I saw that Star Trek Lower Decks is going to be doing a crossover with Strange New Worlds. How that's going to happen, if they're going to animate the Strange New World characters to fit into Lower Decks, and I just, no, I don't need that. Of course, I haven't watched any of the new Star Trek. I watched the first episode of Strange New Worlds, but that was because it was for free. So Derek said he did his bid. He had 5 kids. So Islam hasn't been quite as diluted by Western culture as Christianity has. Well, you remember Christianity developed. And she growing secularism. Yeah. In Dallas, I was talking to a few people about the idea that faith and reason don't contradict each other. The fact that you had a Catholic priest that was a scientist and astrologist that came up with the theory that became known as the Big Bang Theory. So, yeah, we have faith, and our faith is not contradicted by reason. And again, you can know that there's a God without having God reveal himself, because for everything that exists, there has to be a reason for its existence, ultimately leading back to a first cause that brings everything into existence. And because that first cause cannot be dependent upon anything else for its existence, it's the one that's always been eternal. We would say that's God. That God is the one that lit the fuse that set everything into motion. So, but yeah, as I probably mentioned, one of the best books I've read is How the Church Built Western Civilization. I think that's the title of it. But it talked about how the church developed the school system, the hospital system, the academies, law, the sciences, and all that. So, but that's the thing too, kind of going back to the difference between the Eastern and the Western cultures. Yeah, they haven't become secularized, but at the same time, I don't really need to go into it because it'll probably be labeled as hate speech. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap up. I haven't had dinner yet, but yeah, so I'm going to try to do a few streams this week. I was going to do a stream on Friday with the Lord of the Rings panel. I only could make it through 3 minutes of it, mostly because it was Patton Oswalt who introduced the whole thing, and then they went straight to the trailer. And I just can't stand Patton Oswalt. He's kind of ruined Mystery Science Theater for me. So anyway, that's all that's going on. I thank you for joining me, and we'll do it again next week. I'll see if others are up for it. So till then, God bless. And we're heading